Hello, everyone. My name is Noni Ford. I'm here with artist Rose Jaffe. Rose is a multidisciplinary artist creating bold and impactful work from mediums spanning large scale public art to printmaking and illustration. She is dedicated to the power of art to inspire, promote healing, and spark joy. Rose's exhibition, Under the Same Sun, is currently installed at the Lombardi Comprehensive Cancer Center at MedStar Georgetown University Hospital in DC. Rose also has a permanent mural in MedStar Georgetown's Behavioral Health Unit. It features abstract prints that embody the feeling of movement and joy with images of the body and other shapes. Rose, thank you so much for being willing to sit with me and for bringing your work to the AHP.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I'm curious, what initially brought you to the AHP?
So Julia Langley reached out and I think she was the one that initially found my work and reached out about doing a mural in the behavioral health unit. And after working there, it was amazing working with her, and the impact of that mural was really profound. So when she shared the opportunity to have work at the Lombardi Cancer Center, it was very aligned with my own personal work and my mission and vision. So I was very excited to show some of my personal mono print media at the Lombardi Cancer Center.
Thank you. And can you tell us more about the mural in the behavioral health unit?
Yeah, so that mural, first of all, I was really excited at the opportunity to bring art into that space. And when you first walk in, it's, the old wing, and it's just it looked pretty sad, honestly. It's like everything is very beige, it's very much, monochromatic, and this is a space for healing, of course. So, the ideas that we took into consideration are kind of elements of nature, really the colors that we were going to use, and how we wanted people to really feel walking into that wing. So I worked with some of the staff and with Julia on some versions of murals, and then we went ahead and painted both sides of this hallway from the start all the way to the finish of the hallway. And it really changed the vibe in that space. And we really had such positive feedback from the staff, from the patients, from the residents. So it was yeah, it was an amazing learning experience for me. I have personally benefited and understood the kind of healing aspect of the arts, but to really see it in a space like that was really special. And I really wanted to make sure that we were using kind of specifically elements of nature, but like very zoomed out elements of like kind of vast mountainscapes, but then also close up flowers. So you were kind of interacting with it in a way that didn't feel like you were closed in this hallway.
Yeah, and it's absolutely beautiful. What kind of colors would you say that it mostly uses?
You know, I'm such a fan of color, as you may be able to see from my work, and I love bold color. Talking with Julia and some of the staff, we were like, okay, maybe we should tone down the colors a little bit, but also, bold colors are exciting and they can be energizing. And, a beautiful orange, even a little bit of red, so there's some pops of bold color, but we also really leveraged like some nice blues, some turquoises, some like deep tans and kind of warm burnt oranges. So very, very warm tones of color. And also each wall, as you kind of move down, each section of wall kind of centers different colors and I think makes you feel different ways, which I think, you know, the patients experiencing that wing are really inside day after day. So the idea of having glimpses of the outside through the art was a really cool opportunity to bring some of that outside in.
Thank you. And it's a gorgeous mural. I remember the first time I saw
Thanks.
it, I was just like, wow, this is beautiful and really cool. So where do you think your connections between arts and healing really came from?
I have been making art really since I can remember. I was supported in that passion as a kid. I grew up in a house full of art. And I think that art is a calling for me, and I think I would be doing it no matter what. But throughout my life, especially over the past 10 years, I have gone through a variety of my own health ups and downs. And art for me during those times was really a place of solace, whether it was through the pandemic or dealing with some of my own chronic health issues. Art was art has been and really, I think, always will be a safe place for me to explore, for me to kind of have a conversation with myself and um, process challenging things. It's a way for me to connect with other artists and build community. And it's such an important piece of my life. And it's a way for me to kind of transmute the world around me, whether it's outside or what's going on inside, into the work. So it has been absolutely critical to my growth and my healing and my understanding of myself and my connection and relationship with myself and those around me. So I think that's what kind of brought me to the role of art in healing places and my connection and relationship with Julia and with the Art Humanities program. And I think that, I've had work up at Innova in Virginia and at the Smith Center for Healing in the Arts. I've done several shows and been participating with them. And, just over the years have really understood the incredible power of art to heal, whether that's the way that we participate in making the art, whether we're just witnesses of the art and feel something and can be inspired by that, or even if it's just like a simple smile. I think all of those things are medicine and really transformative. So really from my personal experience, but then seeing the benefits of bringing that to other people has really ground me in kind of the passion of where arts and healing meet.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of hard to separate the two, right? Like, because art is just so fulfilling. Um,
Absolutely. And I think it's really, I heard someone say once that art is very innately human. It's something that we humans have always done. And whether it's dancing, poetry, visual art, music, we are expressive beings. And it's a way for us to communicate with ourselves and those around us. And, I'm passionate for all of the arts, especially visual arts. But yeah, absolutely.
yeah, because you also make sculptures, right?
Yes. Yes, I recently got into sculpture. I have done, my body of work here is printmaking, but I studied painting and drawing and really came from kind of painting and drawing, sculpture, ceramics, I'm down to really try any type of art.
Yeah, and that's just awesome. I love that. So do you have maybe a favorite experience or memory of when your art, it really felt like it touched you or touched another person?
That's such a good question. You know, I really love teaching. Teaching art is really one of my, it's something that I have come to love. I used to teach middle and high school art, which really was a fun challenge. And now recently I have been teaching adult art classes specifically in printmaking. And I think there's so much that can be learned through the creative process. And whether that's like, releasing judgment for what we're making or attachment to the final product, or kind of the joy, especially in printmaking, of kind of pulling that finished print and just being excited about it. I especially think as adults, sometimes we lose some of that creative play that we have as children. So, teaching has been a place for me to kind of directly see the impact of art on people that may not usually regularly interface with art directly as like a making medium. So I think teaching is really special. And then the other example I would use is that I had a creative art space called The Stew. I started it in 2018 into 2019 for about 12 months, and it was an old H&R block, and it was this pretty big space that I ended up curating art shows in, and we had over 20 events in that 12 months, from art shows to dances and film screenings and parties. And it was a place where there was low barrier of entry for people to come and engage with each other, meet over art. And it was almost, it became a performance piece, this whole space, and it was kind of unexpected. But the stew was a transformative year and a transformative experience for me. And I think I just saw how important art and art space is for us to have and to have access to. So I think those are the two things that I really think of when I think of art and healing coming together.
Nice. Would you consider like opening another stew or because
Yeah,
it's
so
kind of a
actually,
third
I
space.
do. It's absolutely a third space. Yes. And I do have another stew now, the stew point oh. It is smaller, it's in a more residential area, and it's as opposed to having this big open kind of flex space, it's really just my studio. But that is still where I teach classes. We have markets there, and it's the stew, STEW, like a stew, like a pot. 202, the stew 202 on Instagram, and you can follow what's going on there. And another special thing about the stew, the new stew, is there is an annual artist residency that happens in August. So it's happened twice now where an artist will come into my space when I'm gone in August and just have free access to the space to make something over that month. And we have had just amazing results with these artists coming into the space. So the stew lives on in a new version, and it's very much connected to my identity and kind of who I see myself as and kind of the greater DC arts ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely. And besides being an artist, what do you like to do outside of, I mean, is that life? I mean, honestly, like if you're an artist, how can you separate the two? But what do you like to do outside of art making?
Yeah, I do think that it's like is so much part of the fabric of who I am. But nature is a really, really big part of my life. And it really, if you see my art, you can kind of see how it is imbued into my work. But I love a nature walk. I love, walking in Rock Creek Park or along the Anacostia River Trail. I find nature to be the greatest teacher, the greatest inspiration. So, um, finding myself in nature is really key. And then I also love to exercise. I find that like exercise and working out is an important part of my creative process because it gives me energy back and it's really good for my headspace. It's like a key mental health tool for me. So I'm exercising, I am out in nature, or I'm hanging with my puppy dog.
Oh, sweet. Do you have a for the viewers, do you have a workout that you would recommend, like the 100 squat challenge or
I love that. I am very into high intensity interval training these
oh,
days. It's
okay.
pretty intense, but it's such a good workout. And in some ways, it mirrors the creative process because there's this moment of like, this is so hard, and can I finish it? And then you finish it, and it's like you kind of climb this mountain, and then it feels so good at the end. And there's just an aspect of that feeling that I'll really never get tired of.
That's awesome. What are your thoughts about the stair climber?
I'm
Yes or
into a
no?
stair climber. I'm into a
Okay.
stair climber. I love a community. I love a collective. So I'm part of a kind of yoga workout studio, and there's an aspect of that I like working out in community. I can get on board with like a solo walk or a run, but there's an aspect of like, being in shared space and kind of being in that struggle together that I really like. So whether that's a gym space or something like that, I think that can be yet again, another third space that I think is really valuable.
Well, thank you for that. If we take it back to Lombardi, can you tell me more about your exhibit with us under the same sun?
Yeah, so this body of work is they're all monotypes, and monotypes are essentially a type of printmaking where they're just one of ones. So they're almost like paintings, but it's a form of printmaking. So this specific body of work is it's colorful. It's using a lot of these same plates, and the plates are basically the like flat pieces of whatever medium I'm using, whether that's acrylic, bubble wrap, paper, cardboard that I'm cutting out, inking up, and rolling through the press. And I wanted to title it Under the Same Sun because, again, nature is a teacher of mine, and I think that there's so much in the way of like our shared community consciousness and the way that we are all so much more alike than we are separate, and also the connection that we hold with nature. Of course, we are the same. There is no difference between us and the natural world around us. So this this like remembering of the sharing, and that we are all under the same sun, we're under the same moon, the clouds, we all breathe the same air, and that there's I don't know if there's solace in that. I think to remember the light in dark times, and I think that I'm aware of the Lombardi Cancer Center and why people are there and why people might be sitting in that room, and bringing in some joyful colors and some kind of centering beings that I feel like are, some of them are dancing, some of them are like seated in a restful position. There is a lot of suns in my work, and it's reminiscent maybe of a garden, maybe it's two figures overlapping and creating a new color. So the art is very meditative for me to make, and the people are really can be anyone. My figures are very representational of any body, and I kind of like the idea that you could see yourself in any of these compositions. And my goal is that the way I feel making it, which is joy, it's relaxation, it's introspection, comes in through the work and then is received by the viewer.
Yeah, and I think people definitely love them, and they do bring a lot of joy to our clinic. So we do appreciate that very much. Well, thank you so very much for sitting down with me. I really appreciate it. I appreciate learning more about Under the Same Sun and all the different things that you're up to. If people want to hear more about what you're doing, where can they go to find out more?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say thank you so much. I think that, you and the work that Julia are doing to bring art into spaces of healing, like the hospital and the Lombardi Cancer Center, we all have choices in what we do with our time, our resources, and to make the decision to bring art into a space of healing and into a waiting room, I think is important and it's profound. And so I'm honored that I can grace those walls. I am on I'm very findable online, www.rosejaffe.com. I'm on Instagram at rose_inks, INKS. And yeah, drop me a line. And I have a show coming up this spring. Details are still figuring it out, but if you want to join my newsletter through my website, you can get all the details on upcoming classes, shows, workshops, and stuff like that.
Thank you. And I'm curious, where do you see things going next?
I'm actually very into a public art sculpture at the moment. So I have painted over 50 murals, and I love murals, and that's public art is a huge passion of mine, bringing art outside for everyone to see. But now I'm thirsty for moving into the 3D space. So I've been making a lot of smaller sculptures, but I am hungry for that public art sculpture. So we'll see where that goes. I'm going to keep working on that. And and then I just got back from a residency in Mexico, which was a really beautiful experience. And I made a lot of prints there. So I'm hoping to show that work this spring. So continuing to make prints and hopefully sculptures.
That's so awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rose. I really appreciate it. Rose's installation is part of our visual arts program that features local artists at the Lombardi Comprehensive Cancer Adult Clinic. These artworks brighten the space, add joy to all those who see them, including our patients, staff, and caregivers. Once again, I'm Noni Ford. I'm the program manager at the AHP, and we're so looking forward to seeing what Rose has in store and hopefully working more in the future. So thank you very much, Rose.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much.
All right, bye.